Hey everyone, my name is Angela Lynn.
And I'm Jesse Lynn, and welcome back to a brand new episode of But Where Are You Really From?
Yeah, so we're back, and we thought it would be most helpful to contextualize with a life update before we get into any other topics.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
yeah, I mean, I feel like there's been a lot of new stuff with us. For me, if you guys have listened to the last published episode, it was not with Jesse, but it was with my co founder of my new Mandarin language course business, Real You Mandarin. So I've been busy with that.
Well, first of all, congratulations. Congratulations. Everyone congratulate Angela. I don't see all the work you put into it, but obviously talking to you, I know it's a lot. And even just thinking about putting together, not a TikTok because I don't have TikTok, but like a reel, I'm like, that's too hard for me. So like a full course with video editing and then also trying to sell it to people, that is not an easy task. So clap, clap, clap,
Thank
clap, 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 clap for
you.
you.
Thank you. And if you don't know what we're talking about because you didn't listen to the last episode, basically, you know how I've been ranting on this show for a long time about how it's hard for us American born people to improve our Mandarin because we don't fit nicely into like the standard Chinese level courses. And also the fact that we grew up in the US, so our experience culturally is quite different from native people in Taiwan and China. So it's kind of hard to find the words for that. So I just made it myself with my co founder, who is a Taiwanese Chinese language instructor. So it's really catered to like real life topics, the things we talk about in English, but don't know how to say in Chinese. So that's what the course is all about. It's called Real You Mandarin. If you want to check it out, go to realumandarin.com.
What do you think is like your biggest lesson learned from putting this course together?
Oh my God. There's so many things. There's so many things. Well, from the course itself, I would say the biggest thing we learned is that language is, I mean, it's so self explanatory when you say it out loud, but it's like language is not easily translatable because a lot of times people just think like, oh, I'll just like Google translate it. But what we found is that the hardest things to translate were the cultural differences. Because, for example, like I would write these scripts because the course content is all based on like back and forth dialogue as if it's real conversations. And I'd write a script, for example, about like media representation through like Everything Everywhere All at Once, right? Our favorite movie. But talking about that as like a good example of real media representation for the Asian American community, yada yada yada. And Jane, my co-founder, was like, "Oh, I can do these translations in like 2 days of all the scripts." And then once she started translating, she's like, "Okay, no, I need I need so much more time to translate this stuff because I don't even understand what you mean by things like token Asian. I don't know what any of this means because culturally, as somebody who grew up in Taiwan as part of a monolithic like ethnic group, she just didn't understand what these concepts even were. So she and I had to go back and forth a lot on the translations because she'd translate something one way and be like, that is not what I meant. And that doesn't capture what this topic is. So yeah, it was very interesting that especially on those topics that are like specific to growing up in the West that native people in the motherland just don't understand based on the way they grew up. Those things were very difficult to translate and would not be something you could just Google translate and be able to convey to somebody. So that was definitely one of the biggest learnings through the making the course.
Nice. Well, I think as usual, my updates are always consist of me trying to just explore new things. And the last update was like a lot of partying, which I'm still doing, but I think I'm also branching out into just spending more time listening to different kinds of music and reading different kinds of books. So yes, I am regressing to like 2014 Tumblr me. Yeah, I think I just wanted to like sit back. I'm still in my sit back and enjoy my life moment. So I spent a lot of time actually reading this summer, a lot of like fantasy books that I'm into. So there's this one series called Wheel of Time, if you saw it on Amazon Prime Video. That's where I originally picked it up. And then I like devoured the book series because I'm a huge fantasy nerd. So I was like reading it during my commute, like after work, during vacation when we were like flying between places. So that's been a really nice kind of chill experience. And then I was like, okay, let me pivot to something that I wanted to read for a while, but I didn't, which is Handmaid's Tale. And I like watched part of the TV series too. And I got the audiobook and it's pretty dark. I was like listening to the audiobook and I was like, oh, this is like not like I knew it was not fun in games, obviously, because of what I watched in the TV series. And I was like, oh, this is like really depressing. But yeah, I'm just trying to find more media to consume, things to occupy my time, and just stuff to enjoy.
Fun. And also, your aesthetic has changed because many people know you by your hairstyle in our videos, whether it was the white or the blue. Now you're rocking a shaved buzz cut
I'm bald.
look.
Yeah. So this was part of the when I was going to leave to go to Europe adventure. Wait, no, actually, that's totally a lie. I think this was like pre-Pride. I think I was already bald in June. It's not bald, but the hair is just very short. After the last time I dyed my hair, there was like a patch of it that like fell out because the bleach is really damaging for your hair. And I was like, all right, let's go and like shave it all off. And my issue was I thought that the root had grown out more than it did, but when he shaved it to where there was no longer color, I was like, "Oh, this is really short." But I had already committed, so then I was like, "Okay." And like the first 24 to 48 hours, I was like, "This is a mistake. I look like Sinead O'Connor." Like I was like, this is not right. But then I was like, I went through a closet and like put together different outfits that I wouldn't normally wear together. And then I got like a chain necklace, and I was like, oh wait, no, this is like just like I can do this. I can do this look. And then it just became really easy to maintain the hair, and I'm like, okay, like this is easier for me to do.
Yeah, I like it. I think I had a similar reaction, or not exactly, but when I first saw you, because we saw each other in California the other day, for the first time in a long time that we saw each other in real life. But my first reaction was also like, who dat? Like it's been so long since I've seen you with hair. I maybe have never seen you with hair like that. I don't think you
It's never been
had.
this short.
Yeah, you've never had hair like that even when we were growing up. So I was like, I don't know how I feel about that, but I agree with you. I feel like in the past, your hair was always the statement piece. So your clothes, you didn't necessarily always put together like a certain look. Sometimes you did, but other times it was just like muscle tank, whatever, because the hair always was something. And now because it's so toned down, you're using the actual clothes as the statement pieces. So I think it works well. I like it.
I think it's fun to play around with, and like the different lengths of hair and the different colors of hair have always been like my way of playing around with like femininity and like masculinity, so on and so forth. Because I love it when people are like they look at you and they assume something about you when you look a certain way, and I love being like, no, you are wrong. How dare you assume that? But yeah, so now I have like this really short, like butch man hair.
You've heard me complain about how weird it is to be an American-born Mandarin speaker because I grew up speaking Mandarin at home and have a passing native accent, but simultaneously sound like a child when trying to talk about real things. Since I realized no one out there was catering to people like us and decided, I'm just going to do it myself. I teamed up with my native Taiwanese Mandarin language teacher to create Real You Mandarin, a self-paced online Mandarin course built specifically for ABCs and ABTs. All of our content is video-based, realistic dialogues centered on topics you'd actually want to talk about, from dating and pop culture to media representation and growing up as a minority in a majority society. You'll learn the relevant vocabulary in the context you actually use them and be able to practice them daily with pre-built digital flashcards. You'll also be able to practice speaking by shadowing, repeating back, or following along with all of these dialogues to practice speaking at natural speed with the right pronunciations. Check out the course at realumandarin.com and get 10% off using promo code WhereAreYouFrom10. Let us help you express the real you when you speak Mandarin. Hey listeners, wondering how you can support us? The biggest way is by increasing our visibility by following us on Instagram at Where Are You From Pod, on TikTok at But Where Are You Really From, subscribing to our YouTube channel under But Where Are You Really From Podcast, rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, and telling your friends. The more people we can get to listen to the show, the more we can continue spotlighting different perspectives and stories. And if you feel so inclined, we're also accepting donations at buymeacoffee.com/whereareyouFrom. Thanks, y'all.
What else? What else is new? Well, my new other big life update is that I have a dog now. She's a
Puppy, so
puppy.
adorable.
Yeah, her name is Yuki. She's a corgi puppy. As of the current recording date, she is 6 months old. But yeah, it's been a lot. But I love her so much. We love her so much. She's our cutest little baby. And yeah, she's been my life for the last 4 months since we got her. Yeah.
Tell us about the recent adventure you guys went on.
Oh, yeah. So we took her to our first like away weekend. So Ramon's parents were here from Spain for a week and a half, and we kind of ended the trip with a weekend staycation. So we just went to like San Juan Capistrano. It's very cute. It's a very cute town. They have like, the mission style downtown kind of area. And yeah, it was an adventure because she had never been out of the house from like a staying over standpoint, and she loved it, like all these new sights and smells, but a lot of training opportunities, I would say, because too much excitement, too much stimulation, just a lot. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess we have talked also in the past about work related stuff, and it feels like the expectation is increasing for me to do more or step into like more of a pseudo managerial role. And I talked about in the past, like I love doing more like technical work or like consultative work or things that are like kind of puzzles and figuring out stuff with clients, but I'm just not a huge fan of the executive handholding and like the stakeholder management and a little bit of piece of like ego management in a way. I don't want to play like politics portion of it. So yeah, I'm trying to think my way through that as the demands increase.
Controversial, maybe not actually controversial opinion. Managers don't do any real work. All they are is the human relationship side. It's like they're doing kumbaya with like other teams that we have to work with. They are sucking up to their bosses. They are like doing this and that, but it's all the soft side. And as far as like actually doing work, they don't do any work anymore. At best, they kind of like look over what the ICs do. And even like, I feel like I remember when I was at Viacom or something, the CEO said something like, what someone asked them, like, what are you doing for your first week on the job as like CMO or something very high?
Like 150 one-on-ones.
Yeah, they're like, I'm just meeting everyone and I'm just listening. And they're like, that's actually just my entire job is I'm just listening to people. I'm like, that's a very expensive job.
Well, listen,
Yeah.
I cannot downplay that part of work organization, right? Like, and I think it's very important, right? Business doesn't just run on good ideas; it runs on relationships. It's just not something that I'm particularly interested in, right? Like, you kind of have to like put on the very like client services hat, which I don't like doing that because in a way it makes me feel like I'm not representing something honestly when I have to sell the best thing to someone, or like I have to like switch it around to cater to what someone else wants. I'm like, that's not the best thing to do here. But of course, like, that's just my opinion. Like, other people have other opinions, which is fair. But yeah, that's part of my like the professional stuff is heating up.
Well, I hope you figure out how to navigate that. But I mean, there are senior individual contributors. You don't have to, not everyone is made to be a manager anyway. And like I said, it was a controversial opinion. I'm not saying that managers are useless. I've had good managers in my life, and I agree. I think the most important part of a manager's job is developing the people that they oversee in terms of like helping them with their career advancement. That's something I've always valued. And when I was trying to be in managerial track as well, I was like, this is the only reason I care about becoming a manager is to help people with their careers, not because I like who likes that part. Now, there are people who like the politics.
No,
There are
I
lots
think
of
the
people who
people who
like the
succeed
politics.
at being managers are like very people. And I love talking to people. All the like my capacity is not that big for that. Well, speaking of development, any more new developments in your life?
Yeah, we're moving to Japan next year, and we are starting very slowly. Like, we've started investigating the visa process, and all of that was kind of like, we need time to get things ready to move. Like, Yuki was 10 weeks old when we got her. She needs to become a well adjusted, listening to us kind of dog if she's going to integrate into Japanese society, which is so, rules based. And if she borks unexpectedly in public, it's going to get a lot of attention. So we're using all this time that we're still in the US to train her properly. But yeah, we're doing the visa process stuff and family planning stuff while we're in the US. But yeah, we're excited to get our lives started.
Well, listeners, we hope you like hearing us give you the tea on what's been happening in our lives for the last couple of months. We hope that everyone else has been doing great while we've been on break. But as usual, we'd love to hear from you. Chime in the comments below or let us know how you doing, how you been, what you've been up to. We'd love to hear.
And come back next week. We'll have a fresh episode for you then. And until then, 再见,
bitches.
bitches.